So this is the 800-pound pillar, the entire stone fence, entire width of the house, destroyed from the impact, which was at least been cleaned up, but which was at least 60 or 70 miles an hour. Okay? Through rocks and debris is a part of that pillar right there. And it was thrown over here. It's just big rock, so it weighs about 200 pounds. Let's go see if we can find out where that car started burning rubber. I don't know if you can see this, the two spots where the car was burning rubber. Right here. This is where we heard the engine revving and the tires squealing. So, it launched from this position. Oh, here's even more of the tire burning rubber skids. It came down this way. Yep, and look, down here, the car, because there was nobody in it, rode the side of the curb. You can see the tire mark right there. Okay, so it has no driver. It's coming down the road. Okay, it swings out and starts kind of heading towards the gutter up ahead at the front of the intersection. Okay, you see the line here, and then just as it comes down to the bottom, where if it had kept going straight, it would have hit the house. Instead of doing that, when the car comes down to the flat part of the road, the bell housing where that dark line is, right there, that bell housing dragged across the bottom of the asphalt and sent the car not into the beige house, but into the owner of the property's house, and completely destroyed the entire frontage of the house. That's probably about $80,000 worth of property damage right there. And when the car came to rest, and the engine block exploded, it threw chunks of debris all the way down the driveway. There was all full of driveway stuff there. But when the car came to rest, we immediately came out of the door, because I was standing right behind this screen door, and came right up to the car like this. And when I looked in, the only thing that was in there was these ladies standing there too. They're like, "Is he okay?" And I'm like, "He's gone." And they thought I meant he was dead, but what I meant was there was nobody in the car. So he just missed the telephone pole that was hit the last time we had an accident here. But he hit this post so hard, that was buried 4.5 feet in the ground, and that post weighs about 900 pounds to 1,000 pounds. It's solid concrete with reinforced rebar. You can see it goes all the way down in here. And even if that kid had had his seatbelt on when he was in the car, he would have been right through the windshield, or at the very least would have been covered with all kinds of dust from the airbags. And these posts right here are solid redwood. Okay, they weigh about 300 pounds apiece. Okay, most of them didn't break, but the ones that the car actually hit head on did. So that gives you an idea of how fast the car was actually going. It exploded this pillar and sent pieces of debris all over the place here. Okay, and the shock wave from the impact was so strong that it came all the way to this pillar as well and completely shook it apart. Believe it or not, even the last pillar was affected by the force of the impact. Okay, so I'm saying 60, 70 miles an hour at least, from a standing stop going down a hill, and then all the way to the car being thrown to the left, which crashes right into the house. So, when we get in the car, when we look in the car, there's no one in it. Not a single person. Where's the driver? Well, let me show you where he is. We walk down here. See the fire department mismarked the sidewalk over there like it was some kind of a place that he rubbed up against with his tire coming down the road this way, but it isn't. The driver of the car, who was driving the car remotely, okay, it was a crash car, and we've got a car gang that slammed into our house several times, and they've got this thing, which is they want the house to be torn down because it's an old house. And, you know, so their thing now is to see if they can get the house actually torn down. And using a driverless car was a pretty smart thing. But because I was right there on top of it when it happened, okay, I was able to spot the kid who was standing right here by this sign, in this position, looking this way, which gives him a perfect view of what's coming down the driveway and where it's headed. And because the car was revved at that high, you know it was a kid, because the sound of the engine roaring, the tires burning, was just too much for him to resist. I've looked around the entire area to see if we can find any electronic parts, because I saw him put something in his jacket, which was most likely the RC controller that he was steering the car with. If you go online to YouTube, you can find about 7 or 8 videos where kids have rigged the car with an RC controller to use it to ram into somebody's house. A bunch of these car gangs think it's really funny to have a house torn down if they've crashed into it just once. Now everybody wants to crash into it until it's torn down because of them. And as insane as that sounds, that's the real reason. And so when I asked the kid who walked all the way up here as the cops were coming that way, finally, after 25 minutes of him watching the cops and the fire department coming up, he finally reveals himself only after his mother, who he called from the corner over there, arrives. He rushes over to her first after briefly identifying himself and then excusing himself to go see his mother. Okay? His mother quickly takes his black jacket off because he's dressed head to toe in black. Head to toe. So he looks like a burglar that just robbed a bank. And when he comes back, now all of a sudden, you'll see in the footage I filmed that night, he has no black coat on. He's taken his black coat off, and he has a red t-shirt, which strangely, his friend behind him, standing right in here, has a t-shirt on too. When you see this next piece of footage, you'll notice he spends a lot of time taking electronic components out of the front that could have been used to steer the car into the house, and then a whole bunch of computer equipment in a big gray box with a key in it that was probably the RC controller, and just walks away with the evidence right underneath the police's nose, because he's a minor and they don't want to screw around with prosecuting a minor. He was... The guy's still in the car, right? No. He's right there. Which guy? The kid. So did you jump out before you crashed?
Sir, can you do me a favor? Just hang out. I don't want this. This is smoke and oil right here.
Yeah, it's gas. Oh, there's the driveway now. I think this makes the fourth time we've been hit in 6 months or 8 months. This is why it's time to retire all the old gas cars. You know, people driving around cars that are too old. And that's what happens. He said he lost his brakes. Okay.